Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to Peter's Movie Club. Announced every Friday over here on this channel. I am having so much fun with this. This is actually my favorite video of the week, I think across all of my channels to film, partly because of the preparation. I go in and I look at Tubi, which is the app that we're using over here to watch movies, and I look to see what new movies have come out, what movies I haven't found that they have over there, because they have thousands and thousands of movies. And last week, I thought that I had gone through every section. I had gone through like the dramas. Oh, I thought I had gone through the drama section. I had gone through like the thriller section, the comedy section, the classic section, the cult classic section, the featured classics, all that kind of stuff, and I'd gone through it. And then I was in my vlog a couple days ago, and I was talking about one of my favorite movies, one of my mom's favorite movies, and I was like, you know, I should look and see if it's on Tubi, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this is on Tubi, because I hadn't seen it yet over there. And so I went and I looked, and it was listed as a drama, so I went through like all the dramas, and I found like 5 more movies that I was not aware were on Tubi that are some of my favorites. So I guess I hadn't gone through all the movies yet. So I went through all the dramas, and then I went through like 3 more sections. I'm sure there's movies over there that I still haven't found. But at this point, I have probably, I don't know, 65 or 70 movies on my list to get us through the year, and some after. And I'm having so much fun with this. And, you know, at first when I started this, I was like, because I watch so many TV shows. As you guys know, I have an entire channel dedicated to TV shows called Peter Watches TV. And so I watch a lot of TV, and I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep up with watching. I'm also watching, you know, new movies. And so I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep up with watching one movie from, you know, my past. And, you know, this week I was kind of thinking about this, and I was like, I don't know that I've like in-depth explained why, like, I mean, there's a couple different reasons why I came up with this project. One was because I wanted to watch collectively Night of the Comet together before the eclipse. And then I was thinking, like, just pick a movie every week that's some movie that you liked from your past, because I loved Night of the Comet. But I actually keep a list on my phone, so I'm like a major list keeper. I keep a list on my phone of like movies from my past that I want to see again. And it's interesting because when I watch these movies, they're movies that I have, some of them watched 3, 4, 5, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. Some of them I've only just like watched once, maybe twice. But it's interesting, the movies that I've watched so far, like Night of the Comet. So the first week was Night of the Comet, then it was Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael, and then last week was a double feature, and it was Joyride, the horror movie with Paul Walker and Steve Zahn, and then also Jackie Brown. And it was when I got done with Jackie Brown, which was so fantastically done, and I had forgotten how much I really loved it. When I got done with Jackie Brown, I was kind of like, I asked myself this question in my head. I was like, do you think you'll ever watch this again? I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I've seen this movie now. Like, I remember why I loved this movie. I remember why I loved Night of the Comet. I remember why I loved Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. Like, I don't know that I need to see these movies again, you know? You also know that you probably also know that I have a BookTube channel, and I talk about rereading books over there a lot. I'm not a person that rereads a lot of books. There's a couple in my life that I have reread over and over and over again. To Kill a Mockingbird is my favorite book of life. Catcher in the Rye, I've read several times. She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb. But the last time that I listened to Kill a Mockingbird, it was actually the Audible version of it by Sissy Spacek, because I love Sissy Spacek, and I had never listened to it before, and so I thought I'd listen to it. And when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. Like, I don't think I ever need to read this book again. You know, like, it has a lot of memories to me with my mom and things like that. I think Catcher in the Rye maybe has like one more time with me. That being said, there are movies that I could, you know, watch over and over and over again. I know this is going to probably surprise people, but one of my favorite movies of life, probably in my top 3, and I know it's not on Tubi because I looked, is Into the Night with Michelle Pfeiffer and Jeff Goldblum. I don't know why I love this movie. I found this movie like in junior high, I think, and it's just such a great movie, and it's got a lot of cameos from a lot of famous people in it, and it's just kind of an adventure story, and that was like, you know, I grew up in the mid-'80s, and that was the era of like these adventure, like Romancing the Stone, and I looked up, that's not on there either on Tubi, but that was another one of my favorite movies, and it was very much like that, and I think that, you know, in my misery, this is going to get deep for a second, in my misery of growing up in middle America as a closeted kid, you know, with a lot of issues, I think that movies and books, especially movies though at that time, were really an escape for me. And so I loved kind of these escape movies, and Into the Night was definitely one of those. So, you know, for me, I kept this list on my phone of like movies that I want to watch again in my life. Like there's these movies that have meaning to me or that I loved, you know, and so I'll be vlogging and I'll think about a movie or I'll mention a movie and I put it on that list, you know, or I'll be talking to a friend and I'll be like, do you remember that movie? And I don't know why, but like there's this movie called Nadine out there, and I loved that movie back in the day. And it's not on Tubi either. There's a lot of, not just a couple, there's a lot of movies that I love that are not on Tubi, and they're actually not on a lot of streaming platforms. So, and then other movies that I loved that weren't on streaming platforms have now shown up on Tubi, which is crazy. So I have this list on there, and so for me, it's kind of like going back in time and watching these movies that indirectly, movies have been a huge part of my life. For those of you that don't know, that haven't heard me talk about this on other channels, when my mom passed away and the eulogy that I gave at her funeral, I referenced, the whole thing was like all like around movies and movies that we loved. And at the very end of her eulogy, I referenced the end of The Way We Were with Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford because my mom loved that movie so much. And it's the part where she says, "Goodbye, Hubble," and he says, "Goodbye, Katie." And so movies have always meant a lot to me and have really indirectly, I think, formed me into the person that I am today in some way, whether that's stylistically or the music that I listen to. I get a lot of my music from movies. I was actually just listening to this song and I was like, I know that I like downloaded this from some movie, and actually I had quite a few of the songs from Jackie Brown downloaded, but I literally just downloaded, that night that I was watching it, Street Life, and I also downloaded the Delphonics, the whole album, the Delphonics on there, because I love the music from Jackie Brown. So let's go in here real quick and talk about the movies from last week. So the movies, because I said I would do a quick review, every Friday of the movies that we watched from last week. So last week was a double feature, and the reason why is because there is a section on Tubi called Leaving Soon, and some of the movies are marked for how many days they have left, and then other movies you just don't know. They might be gone in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but then they, like when there's down to like the last week, they list them. And so, like, for example, I have 4 movies that are on the Leaving Soon list, which will be the movies that I picked from this week. Somebody said on my vlog last night, I love the double feature, so I'm going to do another double feature this week. Not every week will be a double feature, but this week I'm going to do another double feature because I want to get through some of these movies that I love to make sure that we get to watch them, or I get to watch them before they're gone. So last week was a double feature because 2 of the movies that were leaving were Joyride and Jackie Brown, and I believe they're gone already off of Tubi. I think they left last week sometime. So that was why I picked those from the list, because they were the 2 that were leaving the soonest. So the first movie that I watched was Joyride. I can't remember. I watched like one on Friday night and one on Saturday night or something like that, or one on Friday night and one on Sunday night. I can't remember. But the first one that I watched was Joyride, and Joyride, when I looked at the dates and stuff, it must have been something that I saw with my ex way back in the day. And we used to go to a lot of movies, both of my exes, we used to, well, Alex and I, do too, but we don't as much anymore. We used to go to movies all the time. Like, that was a huge thing that I used to do with my 2 exes. And so we would go to movies like late at night and at like, on a Sunday night and whatever. And because neither one of us worked on Mondays, and we would always go see horror movies. And so I think that was probably what it was, but I don't know why. I've seen that movie a couple times since, why I remember that movie so much, except for Candy Cane. So I watched it. I have to tell you, other than the Candy Cane part, I really did not remember the structure of the movie. So if you don't know what Joyride is about a guy that has a crush on a girl that he grew up with, and they're at different colleges, and so he's going to pick her up to go home, and this is like his chance because they've always been friends, and now she's broken up with this guy that she's dating, and along the way, it's Paul Walker, and along the way, he picks up his brother, who is kind of always constantly getting into trouble and is currently in jail, and so he picks up his brother, Steve Zahn, along the way. well, they have the CB radio that Steve Zahn puts in the car, and they start talking to truckers, and they start, like, tricking this one trucker into thinking that Paul Walker is this woman named Candy Cane, and that she's, like, flirting with him, and he gets very, very upset. I mean, like, serial killer upset. And it, like, I guess it's not, I don't even know if that's a word, but anyway, and then it escalates, and then they pick up his friend, which is Lele Sobieski, and then the three of them are being hunted by this trucker whose name is Rusty Nail. And so it goes on. I, to be honest with you, did not remember the end of this movie. I didn't remember what happened with it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't know that I would necessarily consider it a horror movie. I think it's definitely more of a thriller. I think it's listed as a horror movie most places, but it's definitely more of a thriller. More of like they're on the run and this guy's trying to get them and things like that. It's very like small motel moments and stuff like that, which were the movies that I loved back in the day. I don't know that I was like super scared watching it. I think because I could kind of remember what happened a little bit. I just didn't remember specific incidences that occurred like in the hotel room and things like that. I like as it happened, like there's this scene in the cornfield, and when she's taken, and I'm like, oh, I remember that scene. Like now she's taken and he's like taken her, but then like they end up in this hotel, and I didn't remember like what he did to her in this hotel and things like that. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it, maybe a 6.5. I don't think it was the greatest movie in the entire world. I mean, if I watched it for the first time, I think it would have been thrilling to watch. I think it holds its test of time, having come out like in, I think it was 2001 that it came out, which is the year that my ex and I got together. So it kind of holds the test of time a little bit, but I don't think that it was the greatest movie in the entire world. So, but it was enjoyable to watch. It was fun watching it, but I was like, yeah, I've watched it now. I will say this, there's like Joyride 2 and 3, and I don't think I've ever seen those. It did make me want to watch those. So I will say that, like, to continue the story of watching it. So I'll probably do that this summer because I love watching, like, scary movies in the summer. The second movie was Jackie Brown, which is with Pam Grier. And it was so fantastic. I had kind of forgotten. It's based on a book by Elmore Leonard, and I think called Rum Punch. And so it's about this flight attendant, Jackie Brown, who's played by Pam Grier from the 70s movies. And this was kind of like the movie, if you remember at the time it came out, that kind of like reinvented her career. And so she plays Jackie Brown, this flight attendant that's in her 40s. And a lot of things have occurred for her to be like flying for this like low budget airline that goes from LA to Mexico and back. And so she's been bringing in money for this guy, Ordell, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson in LA. And Samuel L. Jackson has like a lot of different things he's doing, selling guns and things like that, and a lot of different ways of like trafficking money and whatever. And then he has different women that he keeps in like 3 different houses. He has like the woman that's kind of like his wife, the Simone, and then he has another woman that he keeps in like another house in Compton, and then he keeps Bridget Fonda in a apartment. And I forgot how great Bridget Fonda is in this. There's a scene in there. So Robert De Niro plays his friend that's just got out of prison. And so Jackie Brown, it starts and a lot of other stuff happens, but Jackie Brown comes off the plane, and she is like confronted by, I don't know if they're not DEA agents, I can't remember what they are, but they're like federal agents, and they have realized that she's bringing this money into the country. And so she concocts this like grand scheme of how, you don't know it at the time, but of how she's going to get the money. And she works with this guy who's the bail bondsman, because she won't give up Samuel L. Jackson Ordell. She won't give him up to the federal agents. And so she's kind of playing him at the same time that she's playing these federal agents so that she can get $500,000 out of Mexico and she can take it and go, which is exactly what happens at the end. She ends up going to Spain. And she kind of has this romance with this guy that's a bail bondsman played by Robert Forster. It's fantastic. I forgot about how good he is. The actors in this movie are so good. And there's this scene, so they have to do this exchange of money in this mall, right? And there's a scene when they're in the dressing room, or when Jackie Brown's in the dressing room and Bridget Fonda comes to like exchange the bags for money. And then they leave, and Bridget Fonda and Robert De Niro, is probably the most fantastic scene in the entire movie. I had forgotten about it. And Bridget Fonda, who's like this surfer girl, they're like walking out to go to the car, and Robert De Niro is like real paranoid that they're gonna get caught. And she is like high as a kite the entire movie, right? And so she's like smoking a cigarette, and she's got like these heels on and these like, you know, Daisy Duke shorts and stuff. And she's like walking out, and she's like laughing at him, and because he's like a bank robber, but he got arrested, and she's like talking about him and Ordell Samuel L. Jackson. She's like, man, you all are a bunch of fuck ups. She's like, you're idiots. You don't know how to do any of this stuff. She's like, how'd you ever rob a bank? And he gets lost. He can't find the car. And this is where the writing is such perfection in the show. And his name is Lewis in the show. And she's like, where's the car, Lewis? Is the car over there, Lewis? And she keeps on saying this. And she's like, are you sure it's this aisle, Lewis? Or is it the next aisle, Lewis? And finally, after she does this, and she's teasing him, and she's like smoking this cigarette, and she's like, Lewis? She's like, and he finally turns around to her and he goes, if you say one more word, and then he turns back around, and she says something like, Lewis? And then he like turns back around and he says one more word. And she goes, and she doesn't even get the L word out, and he shoots her in the stomach. It's probably one of the best scenes of any movie ever. The movie is like violent. It's got a lot of like, you know, shootings and things like that. But it's fantastically done. Pam Grier is unbelievable. I mean, first of all, just gorgeous beyond belief, right? But she's just so fantastic in this movie, and just so cool and so easy, and she plays Jackie Brown like unbelievably. So I was so happy to watch that movie. I mean, I would probably watch that movie again, but I don't know that I need to. And just listening to the movie, kind of like, it's like they play this Delphonics song through the whole thing, and it's just, I don't know, it's like, the movie just to me brings back memories of when I first watched it. So, alright, now let's get to the movies for this week. Alright, so I'm going to do something that I haven't done before on this Peter's Movie Club thing. And that is that I'm going to pick the movies live while we're here. Okay, so on my phone, I have two lists for this club. I have Friday Night Movies, Peter's Movie Club, which has a list of all the movies. And then I have the Friday Night Movie list, which I'm keeping, like, I have dated down here, like, it's 5/3, 5/10, 5/7, 5/24, all the way to 12/27. And so I list the movies, and then, like, after I've watched them, I check them off. And so we're going to go back into the list for Peter's Movie Club to all the movies. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 that are, have blue hearts next to them, which the green ones are the ones, I have a very technical list, okay, or system over here. The green boxes are the ones that I've watched, and the blue hearts are the ones that are leaving soon. So here's the deal. I have 2 classics this week, and I have 2 movies that kind of go together because they have the same actress in both movies. Now, here's the problem, okay, with this, is that of the classics, there's really only one that I want to watch this week. And of the other 2, there's really only one that I want to watch this week. But I feel like if I'm going to split them, I should make it like a classics week and another week. So I think I'm going to go with my gut. First of all, the other thing is that the classics, like if we don't get to watch them, I'll be totally fine with that. But the other 2 are movies that I have like referenced, like quotes from their movies for years and years and years and years and years. So I think we're going to watch those. And these movies, the reason they go together, hold on a second, I want to pull them up really quick. The reason they go together is because they both have Angela Bassett in it. And I am a huge Angela Bassett fan, love her so much. And so the first movie is Waiting to Exhale. It came out in 1995, and it is considered a romance comedy. It is 2 hours and 1 minute long. If you guys have never seen this movie, it is literally one of the most fantastic movies of life. It has Angela Bassett, Whitney Houston, Loretta Devine, and Layla Rashawn, and it is so fantastic. And I can remember seeing it in the movie theater with my friend. I remember seeing it with my friend Jimmy way back in the day. And I have never, we went and saw it like during the middle of the day, and it was all women. And I remember at the part, if you've seen, this will not ruin it for you, but there's a part when Angela Bassett, she gets her hair cut and stuff, and she's sitting in like this hotel room bar, and it's like this long oak bar, and she's sitting there, right, having like a whiskey, and she's just gone through it. Like the whole movie is about these women just like going through it and their sisterhood and their friendship. And she's sitting at this bar, and this guy comes up and he sits next to her. And in the movie, if I remember it correctly, you can only see the back of him, so you don't know who it is. And she starts talking to him, and he kind of like flirts with her. And like for like 10 to 30 seconds. You don't know who he is. And I will never forget this from any like movie that I've ever seen in a movie theater before. And so it's focusing on her, and you can like just kind of see his suit and stuff like that. And she's talking to him. He's like, "Are you here alone?" And she's like, "Yes." And she's like playing with the top of her drink and whatever. And it turns and it ends up like they show it, and it's Wesley Snipes. And the entire audience like went crazy. I've never experienced anything like it before. So anyway, so this is Waiting to Exhale. Navigating through careers, family, and romance, four friends bond over the shortcomings in their love lives, namely the scarcity of good men. Both as the other woman, Savannah, played by Whitney Houston, and Robin, played by Layla Roshan, carry on relationships with married men, each believing their lovers will leave their wives for them. On the flip side, Bernadine, Angela Bassett, the best scene ever, and well, I should probably finish reading this. Bernadine, Angela Bassett, ends up alone when her husband divorces her for his mistress. Meanwhile, Gloria, played by Loretta Devine, finds love with a new neighbor. One of the most fantastic movies ever. And there's a scene in it when Angela Bassett puts all of her ex-husband's stuff in a car, and then she's smoking a cigarette, and she like starts burning the car, and this police officer comes up to her, and he goes, "Ma'am, in the state of Arizona, I think it's the state of Arizona, he's like, you can only burn trash." And she like looks at him, and she turns and she goes, "It is trash," and she like flips the cigarette. And that was back in the day when I was an avid smoker, and my friend and I, he now lives in Colorado, we loved this movie, and we would call cigarettes Bernadines because of that scene. There are so many great lines. There's this one line, my friend and I, that we went and saw the movie together. We used to say this for years and years and years. There's a scene where the four of them are together and they're like sitting on this couch. It's actually the scene when you look at the poster of the movie. I think it's that scene. And I think it's Whitney Houston that says it. I'm not sure. But they're talking about relationships, and she's talking about this man that she's dating, and she's like, she's like, "I'm not some 20-year-old girl anymore." Something like this. She's like, "I'm not some 20-year-old girl anymore. I'm 35 and I still look good." And there's like silence, right? And she's like, "I'm 35 and I still look good." And they're all like, "Oh, you look good, girl. You look good." And we still say that to each other today because I love that line so much. So anyway, the first movie is Waiting to Exhale, which is one of my favorite movies of life, and hands down my favorite Angela Bassett movie. The second movie that we're going to watch is How Stella Got Her Groove Back, which came out in 1998. Were those so close together? 1995 and 1998. I did not realize those were so close together. How Stella Got Her Groove Back came out at a period where I was towards the end of a relationship, getting out of a relationship. And it really hit me hard. And it's about a woman that she goes to Jamaica with her best friend, who's played by Whoopi Goldberg. And she meets this guy that's much younger than her there, who's played by Taye Diggs. I haven't read the synopsis yet, but I'll read it to you if I remember correctly. And falls in love, and then it's their relationship going forward and things like that. It has one of probably... My friend Tanya Jean and I, we reference this movie a lot in talking about... There's a scene in there, like, where, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but where Angela Bassett basically is like, "Who am I without my best friend?" It's probably one of the saddest scenes in any movie ever. So I'm really excited to watch this again. Actually, I might get together with Tanya Jean and see if she wants to watch this together. Unlucky in love stockbroker Stella, played by Angela Bassett, jets to Jamaica with her gal pal Delilah, played by Whoopi Goldberg, which, by the way, there's a scene in there at the very beginning, and Angela Bassett's like said something about like, "I don't know what to do next," and Whoopi Goldberg's like, "You're going to take your best friend to Jamaica." And I've called my friends so many times because we all love this movie, and been like, "What you're gonna," like when they say, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do with my life," I'm like, "What you're gonna do is take your best friend Peter Monn to Turks and Caicos." I always say that, and nobody ever takes me up on it. But anyway, unlucky in love stockbroker Stella, Angela Bassett jets to Jamaica with her gal pal Delilah, played by Whoopi Goldberg, for some fun in the sun. There, the 40-year-old working woman has an island fling with Winston, Taye Diggs, a handsome 20-something. When it's time to return to California, Stella realizes that she's developed real feelings for her new man. But with their distance from each other, not to mention their disparity in age, does a real relationship stand a chance? And yeah, it was played by Taye Diggs. It is so... Oh, Regina King is in... Oh my God, I forgot about her in this. I love Regina King. Regina King is probably one of my favorite actresses of life, too. So anyway, those are the two movies for this week. Another double feature. Might be another double feature next week. We'll have to see. But the movies for this week are Waiting to Exhale and How Stella Got Her Groove Back. It is a dedication to Angela Bassett this week. I cannot wait to watch these movies. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.